You are listening to Black Girl Missing, a podcast that covers stories of Black girls who were reported missing when they were under the age of 18. When Black girls go missing, their cases are severely underreported in mainstream media. We want to shift the narrative. We invite you to listen, learn, and do whatever you can to help us bring as many girls home as possible. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Please remember to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite platform so that we can keep bringing you the stories of Black girls that need to be told. Due to the sensitive and sometimes graphic nature of these cases, we advise you to use caution when listening.
We open each show reviewing cases of girls who are currently missing that we call the Aisha Alert. We encourage you to pay close attention, check our social media, and help us help the families who are still seeking answers and long for their loved ones' safe return. We'd like to note that we create these lists of currently missing Black girls in real time, so by the time the podcast episodes are released, there may have been changes. We will have information on each case posted on our social media channels so that you can stay updated. Talicia Ikiogu is a 17-year-old girl from San Antonio, Texas. Talicia was last seen in San Antonio on Saturday, September 12th. Authorities say she may still be in San Antonio or she may have traveled to the Dallas area. Talicia may go by the nickname Tay. She is 4'10", weighs about 123 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. If anyone has any information about her, you are urged to contact SAPD at 210-207-7273. Janace Marie Walter is a 17-year-old girl from Detroit, Michigan. Janace was last seen by her mother at about 9 a.m. on September 26th at their residence in the 204,000 block of Cary Street. Walter reportedly left to visit a friend's house and was supposed to return the next day, but she never did. She's described as standing 4'8", weighing about 115 pounds, and having brown eyes and purple, curly, medium-length hair. She was last seen wearing a white crop top, ripped jeans, dark-colored glasses, and black, red, and yellow Puma shoes. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Detroit Police Department's 11th Precinct at 313-596-1140. Rain Ross is a 16-year-old girl from Detroit, Michigan. Rain was last seen by her mother on Monday, September 28th at their home in the 16900 block of 5 Point Street, which is near West McNichols Road, west of Telegraph in Detroit. Police say she ran away after an argument with her mom at around 6 p.m. and hasn't been seen since. She's described as 5'9" and weighing about 170 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black t-shirt, green and pink leggings, and Yeezy gym shoes. Anyone who has seen this missing teen or who knows of her whereabouts is asked to call Detroit Police Department's 8th Precinct at 313-596-5840.
All right, welcome back to Black Girl Missing. It is just me and you today, Asa.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Jittery, but it side effects of medications. Well, what are you gonna do about it?
We gonna be all right.
How you doing?
I'm having a day, okay? Like
Oh,
Mondays, today's Monday, I'm having a Monday. It is
ooh,
very much a Monday
damn.
today. FJ is not here today. She will be back next week.
Yeah, we got a famous busy friends, so booked and busy she
Booked
is.
and busy 2020. Today, we are going to talk about Taylor Rose Williams. I would like to add an extra sensitivity warning to this episode. We will be talking about a deceased child, and there are some gruesome details in the story. We're going to be all right. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to woosah. All right. It's also fairly recent. I know a lot of the cases that we do are 5 or more years old. This one is actually from last year. On Wednesday, November 6th, 2019, at approximately 7:11 a.m., Brianna Williams called Jacksonville police and reported her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor Rose Williams, missing. The last time she says she saw her was around midnight that morning or evening. And when she got up at 7 a.m., Taylor Rose was not in her bed and the back door was unlocked. Now, we'll get to that. I'll wait on that.
Okay.
By about 11:30 a.m., the missing child alert for Taylor Rose was upgraded to an Amber Alert. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office were actively searching both the Brentwood area where they were currently living and the Southside Villas 16 miles south where Brianna and Taylor used to live. Now, there's a river that splits Jacksonville in half. I think it's St. John's River, but I could be wrong. So initially they were living south of the river, and at the current time, when she went missing, they were living north of the river. So they took this 16-mile stretch where they were searching for her. Now, shortly after Brianna called the police,
was there any reason that they were going to look back at their old residence?
I found that kind of odd because there wasn't really a good reason for them to do that.
Yeah.
I can't understand why. I can't, because they didn't discuss why they decided to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
And she was 5. So, I mean, 5-year-olds can be really smart and learn how to get around, but I can't think of any reason why she would wander that far away.
Right.
Or if there were maybe somebody in her life that would take her in that direction or what,
Yeah, like, I guess that might allude to why there was an Amber Alert.
It could. And like we've talked about in past episodes, sometimes they do an Amber Alert and they don't exactly hit all the criterion for it. So I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But I thought it was odd. It was odd because it's a long way. Like if you look at it on a map, it's a straight shot from north to south, like where they were living, but it's a long way for you to go to look for a child who disappeared earlier that day.
Yeah.
It just seemed a little odd, but that's what they did. Maybe it made sense to them. I'm not sure. But shortly after Brianna called police, they were dispatched to her home and they spent the day canvassing the area, questioning anybody who would talk to them. And at least 3 people told local Jacksonville news reporters that it had been weeks since they laid eyes on Taylor. Yeah. Now, by the second day of the search for Taylor Rose, Brianna has stopped cooperating with law enforcement.
Oh.
Just a mere 24, not even 24 hours later. The very next day, she was really like over it. Now, that could be nothing.
It could be something.
Because it's stressful to lose your kid.
Mm-hmm. And we see this a lot in the other cases where they're just like, we can't, because it feels like you're badgering me, and yeah.
Yep. And you don't know how many officers are asking you the same questions over and over. You're tired of repeating yourself. I already told you my story. You should have written it down. Why aren't y'all reading this file? But from a law enforcement point of view, they're also trying to see if your story is going to change.
Especially after hearing what the neighbors were saying.
Right. Are you going to get tripped up? Is your story the same? Are you flustered? Are you angry? Like, what is your effect at that point? So I can kind of understand both sides of why, they might feel like this line of questioning is necessary, but she completely shut down and stopped cooperating with them. So by that Sunday, just 4 days later, because this is all taking place Wednesday, and then Thursday was when she stopped cooperating. Now, Sunday, 4 days later, investigations in Demopolis, Alabama began. That's like almost 8.
That's a jump.
It is. That's almost 8 hours away from Jacksonville. Now, it's unclear why law enforcement started searching in Demopolis. I'm not really sure what the catalyst was to say, hey, let's go look over there. But Brianna previously lived in the Linden, Alabama area, which is just like 15 miles south of Demopolis. Now, by that Monday, the very next day, this is all the days, the quickness is important because sometimes we talk about how these cases get drawn out
Mm-hmm.
and it's, days and weeks have passed and there's nothing happening.
Right.
Well, here we are, less than a week later. That Monday, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office stated that Brianna was being considered as a person of interest in Taylor's disappearance. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that. Like, I don't ever want it to be the parent harming the child. Come on. So that very next Tuesday, Demopolis police, that November 12th. So it was the following week. So now at this point, she has been missing for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Demopolis police find human remains while searching for Taylor in Alabama. That very same day in Jacksonville, Brianna was taken to a hospital from the Naval Air Station Jacksonville following an apparent overdose. So that's telling me Brianna was going to work because she was in the United States Navy. So she was stationed at the Naval Air Station Jacksonville. So she was at work and she took some sort of drug and overdosed on it, and they took her to the hospital.
Yeah.
Now, Brianna was a petty officer, first class in the U.S. Navy. Her rank is equivalent to an E6 in other branches like the Army and Marine Corps. E6 is our staff sergeants, so it's not like she had no rank at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was a non-commissioned position, but so that means that she was making probably somewhere around $40,000 a year. And we talk sometimes about how some of these single moms are in such precarious financial positions that they sometimes put their children in situations that could possibly cause them harm because their backs are up against the wall. And $40,000 a year is so mid-range that it really could have gone either way.
Yeah.
So, because one of my first thoughts was, well, she's young, because at the time when all of this was happening, Brianna was 27. So I'm like, okay, well, she's young. She's got a 5-year-old. She became a mom pretty young. Maybe she's not making the best decisions. Maybe there's something going on. But when I started to dig into her professional life a little bit, I said, okay, well, she makes decent money.
It's not a ton, but she's
right.
She could make it.
Right. She's getting by. It's just her and her daughter. She's, and then you get like housing allowance when you're in the military. You get, there's a daycare right there on base. She should be okay. So I'm not seeing any clear indicators of like motive or if there's something going on. So let's go back. Let's go back to before December. I'm sorry, but before November. A neighbor from Brianna's complex returned Taylor to her apartment on April 17th after seeing her wandering around outside in her pajamas with a doll in her hand.
Oh.
Yeah. By herself, 5 years old. Now, he remembered the specific date because he was on the phone with his mother wishing her a happy birthday. So he knew it was April 17th.
Okay.
When this neighbor, who is identified by his initials in the affidavits by AB, he asked her what she was doing outside alone, and she said, looking for my mama.
Is anywhere in the report say what time of day this was?
This was between 8 and 9 a.m.
Okay.
So in the morning, it's in the morning time. She's looking for her mother. She's outside in her pajamas. She's got a doll in her hand. And a man returns her to an empty apartment and instructs her to lock the door. And that bothers me. Wait a minute.
Okay.
That bothers me so bad. But wait. This is about to get on your nerves. Wait a minute. So AB works nights. So he's home all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would see Taylor Rose several times a week through the sliding glass patio door, and she would wave at him from inside the apartment. Mm-hmm. And he said she always wore the same pajamas. Now, wait a minute. Wait, hold up. I'm going to let you react in just a second.
Okay.
In May, now, mind you, that was April 17th. Now, in May, He saw her wandering around outside alone 2 more times. Wait a minute, hold on. Just hold on to it. The last time he saw Taylor and Brianna together was May 21st. When he finally saw Brianna again, he asked about the child's whereabouts, and she said Taylor was with her grandparents in Alabama. Go ahead and react.
So, you see a 5-year-old wandering, you see the apartment is empty, and you just tell her to go in there and lock the door. You see her multiple times, and none of this rings any alarm bells. None of this is like, this is strange. Maybe I should call someone. I shouldn't be leaving this 5-year-old by themselves. Should I take them to the police department? Should I there's so many things you can do other than saying to a 5-year-old, go in the house and lock the door.
Not one time. And see, the thing about it that kind of made me angry was AB is giving this statement to the police like he was some sort of hero. What the hell was you doing the first time you saw this girl walking around outside by herself? What is wrong with you?
And you remember all these details, like she was in the same pajamas all the time, like, and none of this struck you as odd?
Why is a 5-year-old home all day long waving at you out of a window? Why she ain't in school? That's kindergarten. She should be in kindergarten.
Child.
Look, I can't. So so I started reading the arrest report when Brianna was arrested, because she was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading the arrest report, and in it they have AB's statement. And there's so many like red flags that I'm like, what is wrong with this neighbor that you didn't call anybody? So in the arrest report, AB states that he saw Brianna come home most days between 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. and she usually had enough food for one person. Again, ain't no red flags for you, bruh? You ain't got nothing to say?
I just, you know how you just want to thump somebody on the head, like on their forehead? Like, yep. What is wrong with you?
Yeah. And that's not even, I don't want to blame. It's not his fault. He didn't do nothing wrong. But you had the opportunity to intervene and you didn't.
On multiple occasions.
So,
because this wasn't like an oopsie. Her mom was in the shower and she had opened the door by herself and walked out. No, this child was alone.
Correct. So this is where the story starts to kind of come together a little bit. Mm-hmm. So AB is telling the police all this stuff about, seeing Taylor and her being in her pajamas, in the same pajamas all the time, never seeing anybody come in or out of Brianna's apartment. It's only been just her and Taylor Rose all of this time. Now, Brianna tells the police she drove to Tuscaloosa, Alabama on October 31st to retrieve Taylor from her grandmother who cared for her during the month of October. Brianna also told police that Taylor attended the daycare at the Naval Air Station where she worked, but that her schedule for work changed, so she pulled her out of daycare and began traveling back and forth to Alabama so Brianna's mother could take care of her. Hold up, wait a minute. This is about to get really ridiculous. Investigators determined those statements were false because Taylor attended the Naval Station daycare until April 10th. It was 7 days later that AB would find her wandering around outside.
See?
The last day that she was on the attendance roll for the daycare was April 29th. My thought for that might be that they might just print out attendance sheets monthly. Mm-hmm. So she would still be there on April 29th, but just not present.
She wouldn't have been checked off as present.
Right. Now, Taylor Rose's grandparents told police they had not seen her in over a year. So when you told police that, you thought they weren't going to talk to your mama and your daddy?
Like, there's so much.
You thought you were going to get away with that?
You couldn't have. Mm.
Girl,
Okay. Continue.
that wasn't smart.
Oh
So
God.
after Taylor's remains were found, they went ahead and did DNA tests and all of that and determined that it was in fact her remains. The body had been badly mutilated, probably sexually assaulted, um, bruised and battered. There were several broken bones. It was awful. Brianna was arrested and charged with 2 counts of child neglect
Mm-hmm.
and 1 count of giving false information to a law enforcement officer in a felony or missing persons case. That matters because they're holding her on for that particular charge. She is being held on $100,000 bond for just that charge alone.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get charged with giving false information, like sometimes it's a misdemeanor, sometimes it's a low level felony, sometimes it's like we're going to slap you on the wrist and then let you go. But
Mm-hmm.
the caveat of in a felony or missing persons case, giving false information is huge because you
Mm-hmm.
can derail an entire case with your lie.
Yeah.
And which is what she did. Like she told them, "Oh no, she's been with my mom all this time," and her parents is like, "We ain't seen her."
Yes.
So somebody lying.
Mm-hmm.
Is it you or is it your mom or your daddy? And your parents don't have anything to gain from lying to the police, so it's probably you.
Mm-hmm. Like
So
there's no other characters in this story.
exactly. But so when you think about that lie, though, that I've been going back and forth to Alabama for, X amount of times, when they found her body in Alabama, if you tell us you've been driving back and forth to Alabama and we find her remains in Alabama, that means you are trying to use this made up story about your parents taking care of her for you to run back and, dump her body. So the police think she
Mm-hmm.
dumped her body in Alabama, took
Mm-hmm.
it out of her trunk and dumped her body. Um Having to say that so matter of factly is very uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
I might cry when we're done recording. Uh, just to be honest, I mean, because it's
I
hard.
get
Like
it.
it's a these are people, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to have to like say stuff like that with a straight face. Like that's hard. It's rough. So police believe that Brianna dumped Taylor's body in Alabama after torturing her in their apartment because there were at least 6 places or 6 locations in the apartment where splatters of blood were found.
Oh.
And like sometimes we talk about that. We talk about how when there is a deceased body, there's so much matter left
Mm-hmm.
behind, whether it is blood, hair, skin, all kinds of stuff. And it's like it's hard to I hate to say it with this word, but it's hard to destroy that. Like it's hard to,
Yeah.
get rid of that matter. It's still going to be around in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were searching Brianna's apartment, they actually had some biohazard bags. So when reporters were seeing these people come out with these biohazard bags, they're like, okay, something has to be going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Something's happening because they wouldn't have biohazard bags if there was no reason to have them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a precautionary measure. Like you have to specially order those and say, "Hey, I need bio bags."
Yeah.
Because you have biohazardous material for some reason. So, I mean, when you start seeing stuff like that and piecing it together and figuring out why so and so is here and why so and so is there, like it kind of gives you a little bit of a different clue. Like they had, because there is a river that goes through Jacksonville, they
Mm-hmm.
had divers in the water.
Mm-hmm.
They had boats out there looking for her. There was no sign whatsoever. So I don't know where the conversation came from that led them to Alabama.
Yeah, well, I think that speaks to how recent this is because she still hasn't been convicted of
Nope.
this, right?
Nope.
So remember how in other cases we'll find out that the police have had certain bits of information and held on to it and not put it out in the press
Mm-hmm.
for for whatever reason. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's probably what's going on here and why there's these large jumps in location search locations
Mm-hmm.
because they know something that
Yeah.
the press doesn't.
Right. So also that I noted just while I was researching and like looking through these different parts of the story and like piecing it together was how very similar this case was to like Casey Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that she had moved her daughter's body, but they couldn't prove that she killed her. So
Right.
when reporters were investigating this particular case with Taylor Rose and Brianna, they were saying, you know, they're holding her on this really high bond because they know that she's a suicide risk.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that, you know, when you're in the military, sometimes you end up making connections with people that can help you become a flight risk. You have
Mm-hmm.
access to a completely different network of people.
Right.
So they gave her a high bond, like, so that she can't leave jail. Like, you're going to do this trial. But the hard part is they don't have a way to prove. They don't even know how Brianna died. Like, they don't know.
Okay.
They don't know the cause of death, so they can't pin that cause of death on any one person.
Mm-hmm.
And being that Brianna didn't have any company, there was no boyfriends, no not like no friends, like her neighbors just like they never saw anybody else come to her apartment.
Because
She
that was going to be my next question. Like, did she have friends? Did she talk to
right,
anybody at work?
right,
Like,
like who has she been around?
mm-hmm.
You know, does her daughter know any of these people? And the answer is no. Like, all of her neighbors that were interviewed by either law enforcement or local news reporters, they all said that they've never seen anybody come to her house. Not one person. And there's no she doesn't have like a history of poor behavior or neglect or abuse or anything like that. But when they
Mm-hmm.
started looking at what was going on, they said that she unlawfully restrained or caged Taylor at some point.
Oh, oh,
So she was
oh.
like severely abusing this child and nobody knew. And that's scary. That's scary because I think about how often is this happening?
Yeah.
Who else is this happening to? Like, how many other children are being severely abused at home and nobody has a
No,
clue?
that is extremely frightening.
Yeah. Now, her court date is supposed to be in like 3 weeks, but
Mm-hmm.
because of the pandemic, there's really no way to be for sure because a lot of people's court cases just keep getting pushed back more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's nutty outside right now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard to get, you know, attorneys and judges and stuff all in the same place at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
they may push it back. And they're also still investigating.
Yeah.
They're still trying to, you know, figure some stuff out. And sometimes they will drag a trial on because they're trying to find that one thing, that
Mm-hmm.
one little piece of information that could potentially convict her.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of those cases that tests my abolitionist mindset
Mm-hmm.
because I love children
Yeah.
and I have a really hard time reconciling my political beliefs with people who harm children.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about that before, just not on the podcast. And
Yeah.
it's it's just a testament to us being human.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We're not political machines. Like, we're
mm-hmm.
actual people who just feel things and have our own thoughts and have our own feelings on stuff. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine, you know, having a small child like that in my life and ever feeling like I need to harm them for any reason. And
Yeah.
these types of stories make me wonder, is there a mental health issue? Are you okay?
Right.
Are you on drug? Are you abusing drugs? Are
Like, because
you
I just don't see a switch being flipped all of a sudden, and that's who you
mhm.
are. There's always got to be something that leads up to this, and we say that not to excuse anything, but just trying to make sense of this.
Right. There's got to be something that happened that made you feel like abusing your child, you know, was going to be a move for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. And like she does not cooperate. She doesn't talk to police at all. Her booking record doesn't have an attorney listed. So I'm not sure cuz I looked.
We
I
know
che-
you looked.
I checked. So yeah, her booking record doesn't have an attorney listed, so it looks like she doesn't even have an attorney. Her family does not talk to the press. They did, a little bit of like, yeah, we haven't seen her, we don't talk to her, and then that's it. They're not giving prolonged interviews or anything like that.
I
I
wouldn't
think
either.
I wouldn't either, because I don't know what to say to you.
Right.
And
Like,
if Brianna was not, if she didn't have a close knit relationship with her family, there isn't much that they can say because they don't know.
right.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and
Yeah.
I wish that this case didn't have such a tragic ending.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rough. It is, and I would like to maybe circle back around once the trial is either underway or completed to kind of see how this is going to play out, because it doesn't look like they can convict her with murder because they don't know how she died.
Yeah.
If we can't say a cause of death and we can't say who did it, all they can stick to her is this child abuse or the child neglect, the two counts of child neglect, and then there's the
false
lying,
information.
right? The lying to the officer about what she knew, and I'm also curious because her lies were so obvious.
Yeah.
Like your lies were silly.
And like, I kind of think that goes to like she didn't. It wasn't quote unquote premeditated. Like she didn't think about this too hard.
Right. She just said any old thing. That didn't make no sense. And I was curious because I'm like, if you are not going to like plan out your crime, is it because you're not a good criminal, or is it because it wasn't a premeditated crime? Like, did you just kind of lose control? Did something go on? I don't know. And we'll never know in this case because she's not going to talk about it. But I can't help but think about such a gruesome act that took place and how she had no defense. Like there was nothing that was going to save her because she was such a reclusive person. She went to work and came home, went to work and came home, went to work, came home, and that was it. So it's rough. It's hard. And this was like a really hard case to kind of dig into because I was waiting for there to be anything that gave me a glimmer of hope, and there was none. The whole thing is just sad from start to finish.
Yeah.
Woosah.
Indeed.
But hopefully, her court case is fair and just, and whatever happens, I hope that she feels bad, at least that has some remorse for what happened, because she clearly played a part here. It's just sad, but I thank everybody for listening,
and we'll see you next week.
Next week indeed. Black Girl Missing Podcast is researched, written, and produced by 3 concerned Black women who want justice for missing Black girls. Today's episode was written and produced by Nikki Irene, and the Black Girl Missing theme was produced by Siraj Khalif. Be sure to follow us on social media. On Twitter, we're at Black Girl Missing, BLK Girl Missing. On Facebook, we're at Black Girl Missing Pod. On Instagram, we are at Black Girl Missing Podcast. Visit our website for more information about each case, blackgirlmissingpod.com. Contact us on social media or email us at blackgirlmissingpodcast@gmail.com with any tips, feedback, or names of girls you want us to look into.